Welcome to the Empowering Process podcast. And today I'm so thrilled to be introducing a friend, a colleague, is an international best-selling author, Amazon best-selling author, amazing speaker, coach, Laura Ballet, Ballet. And we're going to talk about her approach, the science of empowerment, and her statement, I own my choice of empowerment. How powerful is that? I own my choice. I look forward to this conversation. Come join me now.
Yeah.
And here she is, Laura. Hi.
Hello. I
I'm
want to
so
call you Dragon Rider.
you can, you
I
can,
know.
you
So this
can.
is something that I'm just realizing that you and I have a commonality here. I love dragons. I always have. When I was a kid, I had like a leather dragon, but very elaborate that my grandmother bought me. And I was convinced I was a dragon rider in a past lifetime because, and then every kind of movie and image and artistry. And then I used to have a button, even through my teenage and my young 20s, that was like, some days I don't feel like slaying dragons. And like today is that day. And I had it forever and I can't find it. And I was hoping I could have found it, but it's probably long gone with
It-
you.
It's okay because we don't slay dragons, do we?
No, but it wasn't slaying the dragon in that way. It was like the energy that it takes, like to bring something down like that.
Yeah,
Um, but of course, with Game of Thrones, which so many of us know, they brought the dragons back into the consciousness. But when they ride them and the dragon knows it's you, it for me, it's such a metaphor
I
about life.
get shivers.
Yeah.
I
And
have
it's a
shivers.
metaphor, right? It's for life. Partnerships recognize one another, right? Collaborative energies recognizes itself.
Yeah,
It's why when you get interviewed for a job or someone introduces you to a potential spouse or boyfriend, girlfriend, partner, you can feel it. It resonates correctly. And I love the power of that alchemy throughout the universe. And
absolutely, absolutely. So I'm writing a book.
I know.
Literally, the download came Monday, and here we are as we record this Wednesday, and I've got 6 chapters done.
I love that. And I think it's such an inspiring kind of notation to the podcast that when you feel that nudge, whatever it may be, please acknowledge it and move on it. It's
Yes,
okay if it's fleeting, but it'll come back with
yes,
something else. And I think that's what we're missing when we talk about kind of the empowerment of choices and owning that. I write about it in the book, really authorizing your journey into a self-actualized existence.
and willingness and ability to adjust as
Yeah,
we learn more and we grow. Um, I call myself a recovering project manager, right? Because every once in a while I'll slip into, the old habit, and that's very methodical, very planned. And I was always successful because I didn't hold tightly to the plan. I held to the dream,
I love
not
that.
to the plan, right? And even the dream changed as we learn more. And that allowed the team to breathe,
Yeah.
right? And so I love your statement, and we were talking about it just before we started and said, no, let's record before we get going. So I own my own choice of empowerment.
Mm.
You know, Laura, what I love about you is that you hold nothing back. You are so spot on. You are so powerful in what you have to say. And I can't wait for the listeners to hear it.
Yeah, and this is something that people just assume, oh, well, you're just well-spoken or articulate, or you're well studied in that environment of something that interests you, or you're very confident, or you were born that way, right? Oh, you're that kind of, kid or human. What this is It's the connection to that brilliance and that knowing that even if we doubt, suspend the doubt and act as if, move as if you are connected to that high level, intellectual, universal, God force power. Take it in and move on it. Will never rise to that occasion unless we just simply engage in it. And I really do believe that when we start connecting to our own power, whatever that may look like for each individual, it
Mhm.
transforms everything else for us. There's something that authenticates who we are in this lifetime, and we no longer need to make excuses or judge it or justify it. We just become that power. And
And then there's no question.
that's the beauty. And this is why I love this. When you own your choice, your own choices of an empowered life, you do not answer to anyone. You just don't.
No.
Maybe a higher purpose, a faith in God, a connection to universal flow energies. We all have a different vernacular around this, but
Hmm.
none of that matters. It's
But it's faith.
it is. It's the energetic structure of a faith. What I look at, it's the construct of a faith. And again, the reason why I word it in this way is because everyone has a different faith, a different path to faith, a
Hmm.
different understanding of faith. So again, you could have faith in dragons. Dragons could be an energy that you align with that gives you that relentless energy, that tenacity to move through challenges. Who is anyone else to tell you that that doesn't exist? They don't exist. That energy is all in your head. If it's in my head, that means I downloaded it from something, somewhere.
Yeah. So, I can't wait for the book to come out because the first chapter is where did the magic go?
Mm,
Right. And I talk about scientific proof that we see 0.00035% of what is really here.
think about that.
Think about that. Never mind what we hear. Just think about that. And who's to say someone doesn't see dragons? Who's to say someone doesn't see fairies?
Yeah.
Right. And so
Or
I,
the face,
I
or the face of God.
yes, yes,
Like,
yes.
yeah,
Who do we know? God speaks to me, and then someone says, "You're strange." I have a friend who she talks about Michael, the angel.
yeah,
She was very, very close to angels at some point, and she said, "I was driving and I went, so Mike," and then I stopped and went, "Oh, I'm so sorry for dishonoring you," and he just laughed at me. He said, "You can
yeah.
call me whatever you want."
And again, people would question that sharing.
Right.
But what happens if human beings have have an internal navigation system that connects them to something that is outside of the human condition? What happens if? And why wouldn't we move into that quantum field of all that is possible and just explore it, entertain it, possibly discover it? It will do no one harm if we allow creative forces to show up. If they are used right for good in this world,
Right.
which
Right.
most of us that are connected to this environment, all we want is for highest and best to show up. Uh,
Yes, to get to that level of vibration. I mean, it's an energetic vibration,
yeah,
and the highest vibration is love,
yeah,
right? And so you cannot have an intention of harm.
no.
It conflicts with that.
Yeah, well, it
Right.
wouldn't align. It
Right.
wouldn't align, which is why there's the right our opposition within the human experience.
Right.
God, devil, the show on the shoulders, positive, negative, good and bad, right and wrong. Though that contrast is so important to be aware of. But at what directive do you then authorize your own choice of empowerment and
Right?
own it because no one can be held accountable for that decision. You
Yeah.
disempower yourself when you say that person did that to me or they swayed me in that direction, when it produces a negative or down spiral effect for the collective. So what I love
Yeah.
about negative, positive, neutral, which one are you in the book? Which energy are you? And
There are a few.
yeah, and when you start to, again, we're going to keep going back to this,
Right.
own your choice of empowerment, you now become a creational being on the right side, meaning I am now in service to myself first because I need to authenticate that knowledge.
Hmm.
Now I get to share that and create two points of energy that are working in servitude for the greater good of all connected. And
Right. So let me just touch on choice for a second. Okay.
yep, good.
Because again, dragons are a good metaphor for that. We have free will. We can go left, we can go right, we can go nowhere. We can choose. Dragons or elementals, angels,
Balloons, fun.
balloons, whatever, have to be invited in,
Yes.
right? They like the angels don't come to support you unless you ask them. And then bam, they're right there.
Yeah.
They're right there. That's not free will. They have a specific service and have to be invited in to use it.
Mhm.
We have the ability to choose.
Yeah.
And when we do it consciously and intentionally, it can be so powerful. So go into your book, The Science of Empowerment, and
Yeah.
what that leads into.
Yeah, I love this kind of the background to this. My brother Christopher, I always love to acknowledge him. He is the founder and creator of the J3 equals E formula. And this was based from his decades experience as a USA gymnastics coach. And he's worked with Olympians his whole life. And I've always been around him, even though he lived in Florida for 20 years and traveled the country. And then, I was still in New England, but when I would go down to be with family and we spoke often, and I was in the presence of this, I noticed something kind of unique. We also were raised in a home where the force of love was very high and very present, but we were not without issues. We
Mm.
have a big family with a lot of crap. And finding that balance and centering oneself through this very, very distinct opposition of love and what we'll use the word, very negative observation to things that were going on. Our parents really taught us to be self-thinking kids, really self-thinking. It wasn't like they threw us out of the nest, but they kind of did. They said, "Here we will give you some ideas of laws or principles, values, morals, traditions. We'll give you the base of what's the best in us. Please forgive what was the worst in us. And now you've got to figure it out and go out on your own." And we just had this ability when we were very young, all the way up, and we still work at it, to really empower our experiences at all intersections so we may create an empowering experience for those that we are in union with at that moment. So,
Explain the in power, because that is, people
yeah.
don't quite always grasp that.
No, and no one really puts it in that way and talking about writing. So I started writing, in power to empowers. And really, this is different. When I N power self, this is not this is not a self-serving experience. This is inviting in the powers that we feel are outside of ourselves, but they are not. I write in the book, and I truly believe they are coded within our DNA. I don't believe there's any junk DNA. It's undiscovered, untapped, though I do believe it's limited to some extent for the human experience.
Right.
Now, when we begin an empowered exploration, we can now discover that that limitation is only activated by our limited mindset. The minute we raise consciousness or we connect to God or universal energies or we activate a strong faith, there's something in that alchemy that begins to shift the limited patterns, and expansion naturally happens. And so this is a bit also about the J3 equals E formula that Christopher created. And it's 5 principles and 3 fields of energy. Side note, we all know there's only 2 true fields of energy in the world, negative and positive, but we added neutrality into the formula. I thought it was very important. We all need what I call the resting ridge from negative to neutral and then go to positive. We all know that moving from a negative state of emotion or even psychological trauma or physical kind of remembrance of things that were not correct, we cannot just dismiss it, push it under the rug, and move into a
Correct.
positive state. So,
Correct.
this is the superpower of neutrality. So, Christopher used this beautiful formula as a high level athletic coach with world champions. And I started watching it in our neuromuscular training facility that my brother owns. I always look this way because I can walk to it from my home. And I said, what would happen if we started to apply a bit of what you're doing, but my version of it? Because, like you sitting down and in days creating 6 chapters, the downloads that I started getting, I knew. And then my brother reminded me and my mom that when I was 14, I told my mom, one day I will write a book. It will absolutely create change, high level, positive change. And I just knew. I journaled it, wrote about it. And then my brother said, enough. You have been talking about writing a book. Everywhere you go, people are like, do you have a book? Do you coach? And I was like, no, no, just doing my thing. And he said, enough, write it. And I started writing, took me 5 years.
He coached you.
Yeah, he did. Because it's very sweet. He used to say, you have a very unique brilliance about yourself that everyday people will understand. Even though my vernacular and my research runs deep, there's still something that authenticates the energy and the genuineness I have that I want people to know this knowledge and
Right.
understand their own empowerment. Where when you speak to my brother, or one of his partners who's a Harvard professor in the quantum field, everybody just gets so glossed over. And I like have to interject and say, hello, there's us regular people. We're moms or sisters and spouses, and we work and volunteer in the community, and we're gardening and taking the dog out and cooking. And how can we create an empowered life if we're not enveloped in it? And we all understand that any style of Olympian in training, their mindset is very different. They're used to putting down the outside influences and just focusing on a skill day after day, year after year, just to make it to one championship. And so I wanted to create a life manual through a book that people could read. Nothing about me in the book. It's all a reflection on the reader. However they read it, they will recognize aspects of something that is long forgotten, or maybe they've yet to discover. They don't
Mhm.
understand quite tuning in, tapping in, alchemy, universe, God. It's just the way it's written, painstakingly written, every word, every sentence, every verse, so that it continues to seed and ignite the neuronal pathways in the brain so that something in them stirs. And they may not know the direct route, but they read and they're like, I can do some things that I've never thought capable of doing before.
Well, what you're getting to, which is really important, I think, and something that only the past 5 years I've actually tried to grasp, is the programming, is
Mm,
the download. right? We are um, programmed. And what you're asking or suggesting is that there are dormant upgrades within our DNA, and that if we hit the right switch,
Yeah.
we can turn that program and upgrade on. And we will have moments of, holy Toledo, what?
Yes. And maybe not even turning it on, but creating the space. And I love how you said, and again, if listeners are out there and they don't quite understand connection to angels or dragons or alchemy or universal, energies, it's okay. Come into something that makes sense to you, watching a flower bloom, planting seeds in your lawn and seeing that one little blade come up, and like however you can look at it, the love of a child, the unconditional beauty of an animal, how it greets you, whatever it is, we all tune into this. We just are programmed to think that it is not as magical and powerful as it truly is
Every second is.
every second.
Every second.
But
Yes.
we get to, I said recently on another interview that if we were allowed to go into like monk training, even 1 month out of our early adulthood, it was mandatory, so your junior year of high school, every kid has to go into some kind of monk mindset training. We would understand that the reason why everything is so chaotic and patterned is because of outside influence. When you go into a monastery or a nunnery and you are, I'll use this word, but positively using this word, when you are forced to put it all down and
Yeah.
separate yourself from the human condition and move into a space that is only designed for that tuning in to the nature of your power, your whole life would be different.
And magic happens. So, we'll get back to the dragons because they're being very insistent these days. Um, so when I first met my dragon, I didn't realize until literally Monday how I invoked the dragon. I told you they have to be invited in.
Right.
And I didn't realize they're elementals. Okay, so we're talking earth, water, wind, fire, right? That night, a bunch of us did a celebration of north, south, east, and west. It
Mm,
is a prayer to the elements,
mm,
right? And so we did this powerful, I mean, there were a bunch of us. When you have more than two people together, the energy, right? So there's like four of us, and I go to sleep. I actually meditate. And because I woke up the elementals,
yeah.
the dragon was able to rise. And I didn't realize that I had invoked that dragon until I was writing the book, because I was writing about what are elementals. And I'm like, oh, shit, that's
Yeah.
awesome.
Yeah.
Right. And so the power that we have, we don't even have to understand it.
Right. And I write about that in the science of
Yes.
empowerment, even if you don't understand epigenetics or,
I,
ancient theories or any of it, it's okay. Just, and this is so important. And I talk about this and I've written about this. And again, if people are listening and they're like the dragon metaphor, but invite it in.
yes.
Invite it in. It could be invite new knowledge,
Yes.
invite a coaching experience, invite a connection to nature, invite faith in, whatever it may be. When you ask, there is a frequency, a tonality of that asking, and there is a receptor on the other side somewhere. It doesn't matter where. It's not for us to worry. It is there. This is where we, again, authorize, right? And
Right.
empower our choices of creating an empowered life. And you can only do that when you invite that experience in and allow those unseen but very present forces to show up in your life.
It's like when I invited God in
Yeah.
to not be someone or something I turn to for help or for questions or when I'm in pain, but to be in my life and walk with me every day.
Yeah.
I was in tears. It felt so beautiful.
And that's a powerful statement in that because most of us are trained to think that God is a source of only when you are needed, rather than allow me your grace to walk beside you.
He wants to be with us.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
And people I've learned over a few decades of how
Mm,
they interpret this, because again, our brain is trained for the Vatican, it's trained for, the leadership of a church, it's trained for, everything that it has become. If
mhm.
you, again, suspend the human influence over the stories of
Right.
God and look at it for the possibility in its truth, it will become a very different choice of how you align with it and how you
Right.
empower your life by that partnership with that energy. And
And
it
that
is,
co-creation.
oh, that's, yeah. And when you say that, think about it. People are like, well, how did God become aware of itself? And then how did he create? The same way we do. We have a thought and we want to extend it out and we want to experience some reflection back into ourselves. It is how we design beautiful houses and gardens and buildings and airplanes and rockets and all kinds of things. It's no different. We are an
Right.
extension of that highest power of creation. Do not doubt it. Invite it in. Be playful, right? Be exploratory. Have your imagination run wild like it did when we were a kid. So even if you feel like, well, that's a little off. Oh, if I share that with somebody, don't worry about it. Just do it for yourself right now.
Right. Don't share it. But when you're going to want to, I'm telling you.
You will. And when you do, it's because there's a confidence in that connection.
Right.
You cannot deny the connection. And when you cannot, you may hear me and say, well, I don't quite adhere to the same style of maybe belief that you do, but I know you do. And I like that. That inspires me. That
Right.
empowers me because you know it to be true and there's no denying it. And I get this everywhere I go because I don't move, I don't deviate. I don't write a book and then live a different way. I don't speak on an interview and live a different way.
Exactly.
I literally live the J3 equals E every moment of every day. I am the science behind my empowered life daily. I do not drop the ball ever because once you connect to ownership of your choices, why would you choose anything in its opposition, anything against your highest and best self?
You know, years ago, I developed a course um, that I worked with people to find that energy when you're talking about it feels a certain way. You get goosebumps,
Yeah,
right? I get shivers down my back. I get like so excited. And then find your word
yeah.
to attach to that. So my word is delicious,
Yes, I love that.
right? And if it's not delicious, then
Yeah,
it's distasteful.
right.
So why would I do that?
Yeah.
It
And
makes it very easy
yeah, I love
to
that.
make a choice.
And that's why when everybody is like, how are you doing? I'm always like, I'm fabulous. And they're like, really? And I'm like, of course. And they're
Why
like,
not?
always? And I'm like, yes, I choose. I choose to be fabulous. Always.
Even when I'm not.
Because when I'm not, I run through the five principles. I position myself into the power seat of choice. So I ask myself, principle number one, what am I aware of in present time? What am I willing to do about it? What is my accountability? Critical thinking. I suspend all the patterns, chaos, all the noise, all the
Right,
mind
right.
chatter. I choose to think as if I was a highly evolved, intellectualized being. Energy, negative, positive, neutral. I just went from negative to neutral in like 5 seconds. Now, for me to go from neutral to fabulous, it's nothing anymore. It's just
Right,
nothing because I know that if I do not position myself into that power seat of choice and I do not choose neutral to positive, I will be vibrating at a state of negativity. And that does no one, especially my own evolution, a darn bit of good. And if I am not evolving consistently, I cannot guide, support, inspire, ignite anyone else. And if
right.
I'm not doing that, then what are we doing?
There's no point. There's
There
absolutely no
isn't.
point. And I love because what you're doing in that process is you're not attaching a story to it.
Mm,
You're looking at the moment and you own the moment.
yeah,
It's not because when I was three, it's not because you made me, it's not because of, it's not, you're not even trying to understand it.
yeah.
You're just looking at the energy and figuring out what can I do to shift this.
This is one of the most empowering responses that I get from my clients or, a host that you really have the ability to stay in that moment, in that empowering moment more consistently than anything I've ever like witnessed. And I'm like, yes, because my story, though a caveat to the conversation, when there is trauma and there are abuses and there are injustices, of course, I will not say it goes without saying because I will say it. There are beautiful human beings that specialize in that particular acknowledgement and journey to heal that aspect of their experience.
Right.
I have done work. I've done work to bring me here. And now I am that coach or that speaker and that leadership on how to really take, as you know, thought energy, architecture, and design it so you can recalibrate everything and not
Exactly.
go backwards. Because fundamentally, we know you cannot do anything about it other than transform it. You can't. Even if I had a client, I won't get into all the details, but there was incestual hardships, very, very bad, as you can imagine. And she had done years of therapy and counseling and psychiatric work and drugs and everything. And she was just, it wasn't. And so, I did my thing with her, and her life is completely just amazing. She realized to empower myself. Yes, there's forgiveness and letting go and releasing shame and guilt and all of the story around it that we all know. It's in movies and books and artwork, and we all understand that. This was really about owning owning your choice in the moment. And that's it. Like a
Right.
rocket, go. Go high and don't worry about anything in the past. What happens if you operated from that mindset, right, of right now and forward? And then I would have her create and design and start talking about what would your day look like? How would you think in the morning? What would you say to yourself at night? And we just started creating a whole new vision of how she can show up differently for herself. And then it just changes all the dynamics with everyone else that was around her.
I'm right. I remember again, we're talking probably 10, 15 years ago, a gentleman whose son was murdered. His son
Mm,
was missing, and by the time they found his like 8 year old. And he created a foundation in his son's name. And he said, the horrific things that that man did will not define me
yeah,
and will not define my choices.
yeah.
I will use this experience in a positive way. I saw an interview for another gentleman, and I'll make this one quick. Um, it's a long, long story, but he ran a company that basically looked for people who were in trafficking, who had been trafficked, and saves them. And he was looking for a specific boy for years for this gentleman. He finally found where the boy had been taken, and
Mm.
he got his SWAT team together, and he rescued about a dozen boys. That
Mm.
man's son was not there. He went to the man. He said, "I promised you I would this, and I failed." And the man said, "But you saved 12 boys. If my son's life had to be for that purpose, so be it."
And we all understand those moments, right, in our collective story of being a human in this particular, time frame. It doesn't take the ache, the physical ache, and all of what we know is so beautiful in the human experience. What it does is it sets an example that you can recalibrate your set point, and
Right,
how do you go from there? And we
right.
all know this. We know this whether we're coaches or writers, or we just have conversations with people we care about. When they are in what I call, when they continue to sign the contract, it's like, oh dear Lord, like okay. And then you just have to catch your breath. And then there comes a moment when you just have to say, are you not exhausted? Physically, mentally, spiritually, emotionally, what is this serving? And then,
Right.
the
You're
story.
right. It's exhausting.
It is. And you know what? People don't understand. It is the same amount of energy to hold as it is to release, to be negative as it is to be positive, to disempower as it is to empower. It is the same. The frequency, the vibration, the universal law does not know which you are doing. It only picks up on the movement and the vibration of it. It's your thought, your behavior, your pattern, your belief, your habit that is the directive of in which direction it will go. This is what brings us back to I own my choices of empowerment. I
Right,
can disempower or empower. Why would we disempower? Why? And that's kind of that root of where you need to kind of dive in, go down, however you want to look at it. Or I just got a vision, right? Hop on the back of your dragon and get that overview and
yeah,
see a much more expansive view of what is right there. Because
right,
it's just a limiting energy, and it is in place as that story you just told. Maybe that young soul gave his life or his presence for the release of continuing that story for those other souls. So
right.
there's always something so beautiful and powerful, even in really truly depths of sadness, that we all can feel for one another when things like that happen.
Yeah, absolutely, absolutely. So, and you had said at the beginning, there are devastating things for sure that happen to people, and it's to me, it's like a coach of babble cliche, but it's true. In our choices, we don't have to become that story,
Right, right.
right? We become what we choose to become. Laura, if you knew me 20 years ago, believe me, we would not be having this conversation.
Yeah,
I was definitely not who I am right now. Absolutely not. And, it took me taking control, saying, wait a minute, I don't like me,
yeah,
right? And I'm surprised. I said this. I'm surprised I have friends. If I don't like me, how can anyone else
yeah,
like me, right? I am the only consistent thing in my life, and I need to change it.
yeah. Yeah. And that's again, it's, ask everyone when they start to complain and create accountability off of themselves. And you're like, wow, those are three examples, but you're the common denominator, right?
Right,
You're that indicator, and right, the gauge is just moving between the experiences, but you're the gauge.
right. That's
So
exactly what I said. I'm the common denominator,
yeah, yeah.
right?
But
Right,
it's quite challenging for people for obvious reasons, and some not so obvious, take ownership of that. And I am the one that has been enabling the story because it's brought me comfort or it's brought me protection, and then it fills in all from there. But
Yeah.
again, back to really creating a life of, empowerment, it has to be a decision. And it isn't just a quick, oh well, I'm in pain, I don't want to be in pain anymore. This is something where you tap in or tune in, align with. There's a messaging that maybe is very faint, but
Hmm.
you feel it. There's a calling or there's a nudge, or you start to see it, or it just comes up on your laptop or a movie or artwork, or you're talking to your neighbor over random stuff and he says something and you're like,
Synchronicities, like it's crazy.
oh, all the time. And people really don't understand, and I love Dr. Wayne Dyer used to always explain coincidences, synchronicities, and really the true origin are two angles that meet perfectly together. You cannot even blow a breath of air. You cannot see a speck of light. They are right there. There is no coincidence.
No.
The synchronicity is your higher self aligning with its presence in physicality for self evolution. And when you understand that, and maybe not quite in that wording,
Hmm.
that's higher level wording, but everybody's listening knows you know it. Now, you may ignore it, you may shove it down, you may drink it away, spend money away, drug it away, sex partner it away, be mean to your kids away, whatever it may be. That's on you. And okay, that's your trip. But I would invite you in.
You know.
However, not but, however, I would invite you in to listen and welcome in the invitation to just see what you can become and
Yes,
not
welcome it
say,
in.
yes, yes.
Yes, just it's as an experiment. Try it for a month.
I know.
Right,
Get
just try it.
creative. I
Right.
know.
And take a journal every day. Well, nothing changed today. This is crazy, but I'm going to try it.
Right.
Oh, I think something, nah, this is crazy, but I'm going to try it.
Yeah. Or
And
even
then,
when you get that word or whatever that feeling is, I'm tired, I don't believe in this, I don't, that's where you go in. I always tell my clients, that's where, right? That's the key, all right? Or cracking the code,
yeah,
it's where it is. Look at the consistencies in the thoughts and the feelings. And this is what I love about thought energy. You can begin to change the way you think about thought. You can become the architect of thought energy,
right,
meaning, let me let me say something differently. Let me express something differently. How does that make me feel? How does it make the other person feel? Wow, look at what that just did. And when
right.
you do this, again, in service to higher and best self or positive, environments or neutralizing something. I just did this with my daughter the other day. I wanted to go in on something, and within a second, I felt the energy, the vibe, I could feel it and I tell all my clients this, take a breath, and while you're taking that deep breath, I physically will take a step back if I'm in with somebody in the room
Mm-hmm.
presence, and immediately I go into, what am I aware of? Whoops, this is pattern. What am I willing
Hmm.
to do? Recalibrate my thinking. Accountability, it's not on my kid, it's on me. I'm skilled, I know. And for those that have never done it in doubt, here's your opportunity. Now you act as if you are that high level, intellectual, self actualized, empowered person and just talk it. Talk it. Now you've suspended the doubt, all the emotional reaction. Now you're in the critical thinking field. This activates neutrality, which
Right.
gives you the power to create a positive outcome. And this
Yeah.
happens within seconds.
Nanoseconds, nanoseconds. There was a point where I would go to give my daughter advice because she's an adult, and I literally would hear, stop, and I would pull back
Yeah.
because it's her journey, not mine,
Yeah.
right? And she finally said, Mom, what are you doing? Because I'd be like
Yeah.
physically, right?
Yeah.
Looking. And I told her, I said, I'm about to give you advice. That's my advice, and my story has nothing to do with you. And I'm stopping myself
Mm,
because it is your growth that's happening, not mine.
And what an
So,
empower move for you and an empowering move for her in
yep,
real time.
yep, yep,
And this is what us average, right? The mass, we don't understand how powerful we are. Just by stopping that pattern with your daughter will change the trajectory of her life
yeah.
because she will create her own patterns. And then one,
Whatever that is,
she'll remember, oh, wait a minute, my mom. And then she's going to take a breath back, a step back, or a breath, or some people like the alcoholics with the elastic band, changing
right?
behaviors,
Or
tapping on her toes.
tappers,
Doesn't matter.
yeah,
She will have her own way and she'll realize, oh, I understand.
yeah,
This is how we change. And it isn't fast enough and it doesn't seem to move as quick as we really want it to, desire to, intend it to, but it is. It is.
this is amazing. It is amazing. I am so thankful for having the opportunity not only to know you, but get to work with you.
I know we
Um,
have fun.
yeah, get to have fun together, get to play together. It's really enjoyable. Guys, if you haven't gotten this book, you absolutely have to. This woman is brilliant, and to have this magnitude of empowerment, that's the only word I can use, handed to you in a way that is consumable
Yeah.
is where the gem lies, is where the gem lies, right? We want the world to elevate. And the
Mm.
only way that's going to happen is for folks to learn how to make different choices in their life and to own their outcome,
Yeah.
warts and all, and love it.
Yeah. And get excited
Yeah,
about that journey. I can be creative. I can learn to become confident. I can create courageous energy around transformation. I can
right,
change the life of my husband, my spouse. I can actually create legacy with and for my children. I can
right,
heal long ago trauma with my mother, my grandfather, a sister I haven't spoken to. There's so much you can do because when you, again, authorize your exploration, when you own the choice of your empowerment,
right,
everything will shift because you realize I no longer answer to anyone. This is my journey and it is important, so I may do important things in the world.
right, right. So if someone wants to get in touch with you and learn more, because I'm sure they do, how would they do that?
Yeah, so please go to thescienceofempowerment.com. That website is an education in and of itself. I can't even tell you, I don't know, well over 1,000 hours was put into the design of it. You can read the blogs, read even the life empowerment coaching page. There's a media page with interviews. You could just read it and you will actually come away smarter and more knowledge based. So the scienceofempowerment.com, and there's a really a cool box that you can email and say hello, ask me a question, leave a comment. And then, of course, Amazon, please order the book. As you know, I just hit international best-selling author, Amazon three-time best-selling author. It really is a book that is transforming the way personal and professional elevation is being looked at because it truly is accountability for self, but also accountability for the collective. And that's really important. And then the YouTube, the Science of Empowerment YouTube, it's all in its infancy stage. I call it very unpolished, raw, but it's out
That's
there.
awesome.
It is. And soon I'll be doing an Elevate in 20. I'll be doing a weekly podcast and just offering like beautiful gems of knowledge where someone could tap in and just get some free uplift, free inspiration, free what I call ignition
Aha.
into creating an empowered life. And then
Mhm.
I'm almost at the end of designing the Science of Empowerment course. And
Fantastic.
yeah, that's a beauty that I'm really proud of. And that's got just beautiful. Um, beautiful content, but then three empowering questions after each technique, and then opportunity, of course, for one-on-one private coaching. I also do a lot of group coaching. I have, book clubs that get together and read the book. And as a group, I
Mm,
never do more than 10. We get together and I do authors Q&A, and that is a blast. I
that's
love doing
awesome.
that. And I usually do that for small donation, but I love doing it in service. It's just fun. So thank you. I love you. I have such a great time with you. You're an amazing woman. I cannot wait for the book, and people can see us, right? Uh,
Yes, they can on
see,
Thursdays.
yeah, and
Actually, on Wednesdays. Today's
yeah, on
Wednesday. On
Wednesday.
Wednesdays.
Yep,
Yep. Yep.
yep, yep. So, I think the more that we get together, the more we create and collaborate and gift out into the world knowledge and applicable skills and tools and techniques, the more we will invite in and call to us more people, and we'll keep growing and try to balance what is off balanced in the world.
And that's our goal. So, everyone, thank you for listening to the Empowering Process podcast. If you like this, please give us a thumbs up. If you have questions, put them in the comments. We'll get back to you. If you know someone who could benefit from this, share it out. And as always, please subscribe so you know when the next episode is available. Thank you, Laura, so much. Bye bye, everyone.
Bye.
Thank you for listening to the Empowering Process podcast. Be sure to visit Gail at gailcraft.com to learn more about how she serves thought leaders, entrepreneurs, and goal seekers. And remember, if you like this broadcast, be sure to share and subscribe so you don't miss an episode.